everybody, this is Andre and Stuart from Evolutions, and today we have Allison Baver. We're excited to hear from you, and for what it's worth, Stuart, you guys have a relationship for a long time as good friends. Why don't you introduce Allison?
I mean, a long time is relative, but it's been probably, I guess, about 16 years since we last saw each other when I was living at the Olympic Training Center. And Allison, so great to see you again. Hi.
Hello. Finally, we get to see each other after all those years.
So I'm gonna brag on you a little bit about what you were doing in the past in my life when we do each other, and then we can talk about all the stuff you're doing now. But Allison is a 3-time Olympian for short track speed skating. She actually won the bronze medal in 2010 at the Vancouver Olympics. And besides that, she's an amazing woman and human being. And so again, it's been far too long. I just found out also you were in Los Angeles not too long ago. I'm not gonna hold that against you. We'll pick up next time. But again, thank you so very much for coming on with us.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, this is so much fun remembering back, especially now that the Olympics are, we're kind of in an Olympic year here. Mm-hmm. And it brings back a lot of memories,
I can only imagine.
Blood, sweat, and tears days, So thank you.
Awesome. Well, Allison, what we try to do is try to teach financial wellness. And what we're interested in is kind of from your transition from sport into, kind of where you're at now with your business and your career. But before we get to that, maybe let's talk a little bit about the past. So you were a multi-time Olympian. How did you kind of choose the sport that you participated in? And what were the things that you learned from that?
Yeah, I started short track speed skating when I was a junior at Penn State. I started a little late, but I roller skated and inline skated when I was young, and competed in my first World Cup, the first World Cup that inline skating ever had at the age of 15. I went to Bogota, Colombia, very much outside of the American bubble, as I call it. And that really launched me, traveling the world for majority of my life, and had the opportunity to represent the United States on the world stage at the Olympic Games in 2002, 2006, and 2010. And in 2010, my story is I broke my leg 1 year before the Vancouver Olympics, and I was able to come back and win a bronze medal in the ladies relay. So, but I started as a little girl, doing cartwheels on my roller skates. There was a roller skating rink down the street from me, and we would jam skate and rhythm skate and do all that. So it really started out as just something I did a lot and enjoyed. And then I went on to pursue it competitively. So I kind of feel like it chose me in a sense. I don't know.
That's amazing. Just talking to Stuart in the past, I know that he got an early start. That seems like a later start for such a storied career. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I was actually working full time at a bank in their call
center. Really?
When I moved to train for the Olympics. Yeah, I remember the whole team. It was during Y2K, and the whole team gave me. They all pitched in and bought me a mountain bike as my send off. It was over people, and yeah, that was cool. So anyway.
So go ahead.
When I talk about the Olympic experience of being an athlete, I make that transition to business. So like as an athlete, we're geared and trained. We don't expect loss, but we know how to handle loss. And because you have a competition, you can't be perfect in every competition. Even if you won a competition, a World Cup series, something like that, you still could be better. Your time could have been better. Your crossover, your turn wasn't as it should have been. And then also coming back from an injury, how does that kind of transition from athletics, just in general about business and who you are as a person today, setback planning, and achievement?
That's a really good question, because what's interesting is, you have to be able to take the punches and roll with the punches. And that's probably one of the biggest things that being an athlete taught me as it relates to transitioning that into business, because there's probably more failures than there are successes. It's climbing one mountain to get to the next, to climb the next, and to get to the top. So if you kind of understand that dynamic and don't take it too serious, I've heard and learned, that a lot of entrepreneurs suffer, 80%, I think, suffer from depression, but I'm sure it has something to do with just the constant struggle of that pursuit of, the next goal, the next goal, the next goal. So I think what athletics has definitely taught me is how to handle that better, and how to deal with the losses and the successes. Because I think athletes, though, are very hard on themselves. They're very overcritical. They don't really, it's a different mental perspective that we have on things, I believe, as an athlete. So it's the pursuit of excellence. That's what the Olympics is all about. So when, there's that constant strive for gold, 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 the same is kind of true in business and, revenue, generating revenue. It's all about the money, the money, the money. How can we get there? What can we do? We're losing money, we're gaining money, all this stuff. So there's a lot of pressure. And I think it's, being able to be mentally, it's, the folks that are able to maintain their composure in those times are the ones that are able to, rise to the top. So.
I have one more follow-up. Sorry. Hey, we're catching up, Andre. I'm sorry. But
please take it away.
So to be on a podium, so it's a 4-year cycle, right? So 2002, 6, and 10. So obviously, right. Having the anthem being played, the medal around your neck is the ultimate goal. But you have to, even though, so 3 years prior, it's hard to wake up that Sunday, go for the jog or go to a cold ice rink. How did you set small goals along the way, make sure you're checking point? Because same thing in business, right? We're going to launch a new division. We're going to release an app. We're going to go for an IPO, which might be 4 or 5 years down the line. You need to set small goals to keep you on track, but also mentally. How does that carry over?
Yeah, I think that when you're competing for something like a gold medal at the Olympic Games or being on the podium at the Olympics, the good thing is that it is very focused. It's this one thing. 4 years from now seems like forever away, right? But there are steps that are required to get there. You have to meet certain time requirements in my sport. You have to be on the podium. That track record of performance is very important, but it's a very focused effort. So in terms of the day-to-day and setting those goals on the day-to-day where you're not going down rabbit holes and like ending up, looking at your daily to-do list and making sure that it's in line with your end game, is I think very critical, because it's very easy in business to kind of start going off on these other tangents where you're like, well, wait a second, but, we actually need to sell the sports bras, and here we are doing something else. We're like, how did we get here? So with the Olympics and with competing as an athlete, there's not that much room for error, actually. If you slip off your game, someone else is gonna, they're gonna come in for the win. So I think the margin of error when you're competing at the Olympic Games is very high. And that's another situation that I've kind of been able to take from and apply that to business, as well. It's just the more you slip up, the more you might lose, sadly enough.
Allison, I was curious, that's a long journey, 12 years of training, 3 different Olympics. Was there something that kept your motivation high during that period, or like as it ebbed and flowed, was something that, when you did get off course, that put you back on course typically?
It was the eye of the tiger is what I like to call it, that will to win, that fight. That was something that toward the end of my career, honestly, I noticed it just wasn't there. As I saw it more in the younger skaters, and it was one of those things where, maybe I'd been going through the motions for too long, or, I had too many wins. I don't know. It was just it wasn't as exciting to me anymore. So that's when I knew I had to kind of retire. That was my cue. But I would say it's definitely passion in your heart and that will to survive, that will to keep going is what is, when we would skate at high level events like the World Cups and things like that, we would always say, at this level, everyone is good. Everyone has talent. Everyone is very, 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 very close. It's short track speed skating. So, we're talking hundredths and, hundredths of a second. So what makes one person better than the next, it does come down to heart, who wants it more. And a good example, actually, my entertainment company, we just purchased a script, and the writer and director, she wants to make her movie so bad, she's going to make it, Right. And I talked to other writers, and, they reached out, they pitched their scripts. They also have good scripts.
Yeah.
But the reason why I chose the script that I did was because of the attitude Jessa has, and that was one thing that was very apparent to me as an athlete, so I'd been able to kind of take a look at those traits and say, well, what does it take to win an Oscar? I don't know. We haven't done that, but if there's if there's a formula to success, there are things that I could definitely take away from the Olympic experience and translate into business. So heart is one of them.
That's amazing. I don't know, Stuart, should we stop here? Do you want to continue? I'd like to hear more about the script and the entertainment company, as well as what you guys have proposed.
We can take a little stop, because I got something I'm working on too, Allison. Maybe we,
You do?
No, but now's a good stopping point, and then we can go back into really when we come back to what you're doing now. So great segue time. I never go, never be ya. I never go, never be ya. Onya wa de me ya, onya wa de me ya. So ni bane jai sabe, oni ba we wo. All right, we're back. Stuart, Andre, Allison, what a great first half of everything. Great to learn a little bit more about you and what you've been up to. Stuart, I know that you had some additional questions that you wanted to follow up with. Yeah, so I'm just curious about your transition from athletics to business. So a lot of times when athletes retire, it's just like, what do I do? I've always identified myself as an athlete. What do I do now? And so I'm curious, did you already have it in the back of your head what you were going to do? Or basically, how did you get to where you are today? Yeah, when I was a competitive athlete, I was able to get my master's degree in business. So I have my MBA in marketing, and my father encouraged me to invest. So I invested in real estate during my Olympic training. The money that I made, I bought houses and rent them. And that was just a little side hustle, passion project kind of situation. However, when I actually retired from Olympic sports, I did go through what I called an identity crisis for a minute, where you're so used to being this. I think when people transition in life or go from one job to the next, or one industry or career to the next, they might identify with this, but in my case, I really wanted to use all those talents and skills and things that I developed competing and, traveling and throughout the world, and, working with media and as a personality. So, one of the things that really resonated with me was being a female in a man's world in sports, so I ended up designing a collection of luxury gym bags because I felt very disempowered as an athlete, wearing more masculine duffel bags and things. That's also why during my career, I signed with Wilhelmina Models New York. It was kind of me fighting my authenticity and really, finding my identity and confidence in myself from a personality, from a person perspective. Because, when you're wearing the suit, the helmet, all that stuff, you're just very, you're in that personality, which is a very fierce competitor, right? Which is not really who I am per se in my day to day. But transitioning all those things to acting now that I'm in the world of entertainment, I ended up actually putting the fashion company that I started right after I retired from the Olympics, Allison Baver Sport, I put that on the back burner to do something a little bit bigger, which was recognizing that as a female in sports and
a female entrepreneur, that I wanted to tell more stories as it relates to women and giving them more of an opportunity, period. So moving the needle as it relates to gender equality is what Allison Baver Entertainment, which we're launching, we were intended to launch it prior to the pandemic. Things got put a little bit on pause with everything, but it was like everything culminated for me, everything that I had done in my career. It just now like all makes sense in what I'm doing in the world of entertainment. So really excited about this new chapter, new journey, but have really tried to take everything that I've done and like put it into one. And that's what I'm doing now. So as talent entertainment, as executive producer, that's kind of where we're at.
That's awesome. And then kind of to bring everything together, can you tell us a little bit about the projects that you guys are dealing with and operating within?
Yeah, so it's a slate of projects that are more female focused, in that we are looking at female directors, female writers. We did invest in a project with a first-time female director, and then a TV show. You know, we haven't officially announced it yet, so I can't. I don't want to talk about it too much, but
we're about to get a scoop. We're about to get a scoop.
I can tell you that it's a lifestyle competition show. Competition, come on, Stuart. You know, had to have the word competition.
A little something, yeah, might as well.
A lifestyle competition show to help women-driven businesses get their companies funded. So, awesome. Talk about financial literacy and things like that. On the female side, we're all about empowering women to be their best and to excel in the workspace, because I think last year, 2% of the venture capital funding went to women-owned businesses. Like the other 98% went to male-owned businesses. So we're just trying to kind of bridge the gap a little bit, close the gap socioeconomically, give more women an opportunity. And that translates so into all the other projects we're doing on the entertainment side. Of course, I have a role as talent in most of them, not all of them, but ones that resonate from a character perspective. The first script that we purchased is kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer-esque. So it is entertaining. It has werewolves in it, and that was really fun. So we do have a docuseries in the works. We have the TV show, a couple films, and obviously trying to push through the pandemic, and hopefully things will go well. But we have a great team. All the productions are lined up, and we're just waiting for the green light to make it safe for everyone to shoot.
That's amazing. I'm curious to know, you went from sport to an entrepreneurial type business, and then furthermore, you pivoted a little bit. Is there anything more recent, like in the last, say, 6 to 12 months, that have really helped you out in terms of the transition, the improvements, to improve your quality of life? Is there anything specific that you've taken on or learned?
Yeah, well, actually, the transition for me to pivot from my fashion company to the entertainment was a big decision, because I had poured my heart into the fashion, and with the trade war in China, it just made it, it made it really, really tough for us to change as a company, as a startup company. So it was kind of accepting that wasn't failure. It was opening a door actually to something new and better, but it was a lot of, I had a team of 8 people, designers, factories that I worked with. And even in the pandemic, a lot of those factories, we became such good friends, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like, there was, we still stay in touch. I did have a chance to go in and out of China and use my Olympic experience in communicating and breaking some of those cultural barriers a little bit. So, I didn't have any fears in doing business and other countries or anything like that. But it was a huge disappointment when we had to, when I had to fire some people, and say, hey, we tried, and, we can't be upset that, but that's also what sparked me pitching the TV show. And now using all of that, all those, all of that to empower, others to do even better is kind of what I realized was more my mission than anything. So
it's challenging as a founder, much like as an athlete, you put your identity into something, especially if you're a first-time founder. It's like your baby, your prodigy. It's the most amazing product and you're passionate about it. And what I learned as an athlete, and same thing as a founder, is if I fail, it doesn't make me a failure. It was failure to execute the plan that was in place. And so to hear you talk about as a founder, like, yeah, we took our lumps, and then I sat back, learned, recognized, and I started anew, and I grew from that learning. So that's amazing from there. I want to give you another compliment too, is that, having the foresight as an athlete, talking to your father, your team around you, to take your winnings and your earnings and start investing in real estate, building a financial plan so you can have your athletic career, but also make some transitions afterwards. So that's kind of what we try to do at Evolutions, is say, wherever you are now, get a team around you, a board of advisors, have a plan in place. And then as you evolve in life, so can your plan. So you're winning.
Really, another thing that I also learned and realized is the coaching aspect, of being coached as an athlete, and how having experts that can see something in me, maybe that I don't see in myself, or can see things a little bit differently. That's really important for success, financially. And that's really critical. So I love what you guys are doing, because I think you guys are going to help a lot of people. And I think, and especially now, in this time of economic downturn, in a recession, it's even more important to be financially aware of how I think some of the biggest, most successful businesses actually came out of recessions, So a lot of people, even in some of the folks that I've dealt with in entertainment, some folks are like, nothing's happening, so like we're going to wait or whatever. And then you see other people pushing through and getting deals done and making stuff happen. And that's that Olympic mentality that I see. The impossible is nothing. We're going to make it happen no matter what. And I think a lot of times in financial hardship situations, it's very easy to lose sight of the fact that you can turn things around just as, super quick, actually, and, so.
What I'd like to do possibly to tribute to you both is, the one thing that I always recognize on high level athletes are that you guys have superhuman powers when it comes to either focus or execution. Could maybe both of you leave us with a little tip in terms of how you guys focus or execute on a very high level? I'd love to hear that myself.
I kind of want to hear from Stuart, because he hasn't talked much over there.
Well, first of all, I'm focusing on not talking as much. No, it's intentionality, right? So as Allison pointed out earlier in the first segment, the Olympics was a very specific goal. So 4 years of dedication for one event, one competition, 2-minute race or one fight. So it was easy to focus in theory, but you have a lot of life that happens. But the biggest thing that helped me, I went to a sports psychologist, and is I prepared for failure. I prepared to be nervous. Back in the days, I used to think I don't get nervous or I don't get scared, or anxious. But it's like, no, you're a human being. We can do this. I got really good at recognizing those signs. And when I recognized those signs of me getting nervous, I went back to my basics. So same thing in business. When I find myself, and Andre, you and I are going back and forth, I'm not making a call to go left. It's probably because I'm nervous or scared, some apprehension. I recognize that sign. That's okay. What do I need to make sure I have enough information to make the right decision here? So it's not turning a blind eye to what you're feeling inside. It's recognizing what you're feeling inside and then attacking it wholeheartedly with intentionality. Awesome. Your turn, Allison.
Okay. Well, what was the question again about focus?
Yeah, just maybe through your training or your kind of careers, or something specifically that you've been able to help your focus or your execution on projects or just goals ahead of you.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is being able to change and shift emotions. And I've taken this into acting, because as an athlete, kind of to kind of piggyback off of what Stuart said, when you are like nervous or when you're faced with some sort of stress or anxiety or whatever that's kind of limiting your performance or your day, and what we do as an athlete is we recognize it and kind of let it go in a sense, or just like recognize it but still perform. The more you think about it, the more it kind of dissipates. As an actress, you do the opposite. You continue feeling it and express it, right? So being able to identify emotions that you're going through helps create more awareness, and I think can elevate your performance. So if you have anxiety about something, being able to recognize and kind of follow your gut, your intuition, those kind of things, I think can really, just in general from a business perspective, improve your day, So, and then being able to shift and change if you realize that, you need to get your spirits up a little bit, or you need to have more confidence on the call, or more how you're framing your energy and yourself when you're dealing with certain things, I think that self-awareness is what I would say from a focus perspective. It's being just more mind, body, spirit connected so that you can focus better. Because when you're disconnected, then, your focus is kind of not there,
Wonderful tips from both of you. I'll go back and jot that down and make sure that I shift my energy and my emotions, and also work on my intention to become a better person overall. Well, definitely thank you so much, Allison, for sharing your time. I know that you were busy.
Thanks,
and you have a lot of projects, and it's been great to learn about your journey and yourself a little bit more. Stuart, is there anything else that you want to bring or say?
Well, just make sure you go to AllisonBaver.com, and Allison, thank you. I'll see you in another 16 years. So,
Yeah, no, we'll see you in Hollywood. Bye.
All right, perfect.
Have a good one.
Yeah, other than that, I just want to say thank you to all the Allisons users, and then also thank you to Clifton and the OSO Digital team once again. Allison, thank you. Stuart, talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
See you guys.
Chicago.